Hello, welcome to the Mushroomery. I'm Buttons. I started a little mushroom farm in my backyard in Brunswick. I was growing between 10 to 40 kilos a week there, and I was pretty quick to outgrow that space. So here we are now in Alphington at the food hub. I'm going to take you for a tour. Let's go. We're just putting the soap on now. What we're doing is we just fill the barrels with straw. Then we're doing a hot water pasteurisation. You could do a lime pasteurisation. And so to do the hot water pasteurisation, all we do is we fill the barrels once they're full of straw with hot water at 85 degrees, and we leave it to soak for 2 hours. Then we'll drain it all off, and what we drain off, the water that we drain off, it's like a straw tea that we then send onto our garden beds to feed our veggie beds. So when creating a culture, what we do is we take a sample or a specimen from the mushroom, from the actual fruiting body of the mushroom. So with a scalpel, you just take a little piece of the mushroom out and put it onto your agar plate. We use agar jelly. You can also make agar liquid culture, but I find agar dishes, petri dishes, to be the easiest. And once you take that little specimen of mushroom tissue and put it on the plate, the mycelium just starts to grow from that tissue, and it grows out over your plate. So your plate is slowly covered with white mycelium, and that's how you know it's healthy, when it's all white. Okay, now we're going to talk about inoculation. So when we're at the farm, we inoculate. We usually inoculate from spawn that we've bought. The aim is to eventually to grow our own spawn. So what we do is, the process is you break up your spawn, break it up into little pieces. You take your hydrated straw out of your barrels and put it into the bath and sort of aerate it a little bit. Then you mix in your grain spawn in with that, and we then take the straw that is inoculated and we pack it into our buckets. And we like to get a nice sort of tight compression into the buckets to stop. We want airflow, but we don't want too much airflow. The looser it is, the more likely you'll get mold growing. Once we've inoculated those buckets, we clean them up, give them a tidy, and then we take them into the incubation chamber. So when it's in the incubation chamber, we are waiting and observing the buckets until we see the mushrooms start to pin. Now, pinning is the small little mushroom just poking its head out, and this can be in the form of just a little white bump that appears in the holes in the buckets. As soon as we see that tiny little bump appear, we take it into the fruiting room. The fruiting room is a moist room. We like to have it around 85 to 90% humidity. So we're taking it from the dry incubation chamber, which has no humidity and is dark, into a light-filled, humid room where the mushrooms like to grow. And the humidity helps to hydrate the mushrooms. When you're at home, you can hydrate by just spraying with a misty bottle, but in the farm we don't need to mist, because we have the humidity giving the mushrooms the moisture that they need. Now, in winter, from taking that pinning bucket into the fruiting chamber, it will take up to another 7 days for the mushroom to be ready to harvest. In summer, however, that could take 2 days and the mushroom's ready to harvest. So it's very quick. So when harvesting your mushrooms, this can be a bit tricky and it can take some practice to learn the ideal and ultimate time to harvest your mushrooms. In my opinion, there's quite a small window to pick your mushroom if you want to have the most longevity. But the most ideal time to pick your mushrooms is just before the little cap of the mushroom completely flattens out and turns up. You still want to have a little bit of body in the cap of your mushroom.
Where do you sell the mushrooms?
I sell mushrooms to restaurants and cafes. I did that, that was the only people I sold to pre-pandemic. But as soon as the pandemic hit, I realised that I needed to diversify my customer basis. So now I also sell to farmers markets, I sell to box schemes, and I've started a CSA. Now a CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. So you can, it's basically a subscription model. So you can sign up to be a part of a CSA, and that means you have a subscription to that farmer's food. So with me, you get a subscription of mushrooms. So you can get a weekly subscription or a fortnightly subscription, and you can get pick-up or delivery, which is great. And it was a really good way for me to help me get the mushrooms that I was growing to the customers once that the restaurants and the middle people had sort of closed their businesses.